You are now listening to the Alpha Algorithm Podcast. Thanks for being here. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to the Alpha Algorithm. And today I have a really special person that I have honestly been really looking forward to bringing on my show for a long time because she seems to know so much about something that I have zero knowledge about. And that's exactly why I'm bringing you on here. And that is my good friend, Lee Betchley. And I appreciate you coming on. She's a certified hypnotherapist. She's been practicing since 1999. And I'm really excited to dive into what it is you do and how you do it, because I was watching a YouTube video you sent me as a resource, and I've watched it like 20 times because because it was so interesting. And so welcome, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for asking me to be here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it goes without saying, the fact that you do hypnotherapy, I don't think, there's such a snake oil theory behind it and then sometimes people are like, well, you know what, it has worked for me. And so I've heard so much success, and I've heard very little bad. Like if I heard bad, it was almost like the person forced the mistake on themselves. You know what I mean?
Right. Or they really didn't believe it when they went in. Right. So they already had that block. But, hypnosis is actually the only alternative medicine, if you will, that the American Medical Board deems as legit.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
That's because, you can't argue the fact that the unconscious mind is tied to a lot of illnesses, or also is necessary in the healing process, right? Mm-hmm. Because the mind runs our physical body. So
that's 100%. Wow, that's really powerful, because I know when I was going to school, just studying Eastern philosophy and the psychology of medicine over there, they were saying that 90% of the pain that we endure during our lifetime is self-inflicted. And I was like, whoa. I was like, holy shit. I was like, wait a minute. So a broken ankle or a stub a toe is the other 10%. And so I'm like, but that's real. Like, that's a real message from the brain that it's pain, right? Like, I mean, most of us will take that as pain, but it's like, wow, the other 90%, we either create the anxiety or the past pain, or, how do you feel about that?
Right, because anxiety isn't anything that's tangible. It's the fear of, and listen, we all suffer from it. It's a perfectly normal human emotion. But when it becomes debilitating, that's a different story. But anxiety is it's anticipating the future, imagining the future to be in a way that we don't want it to be. But it hasn't happened, right? So it doesn't exist.
Wow. Okay, you're wow, holy shit. Okay, the show's only been on for like 2 minutes, and we already just that's been what you just said was so amazing. Okay, I want you to say that one more time. You said anxiety is like a future that we're trying to make happen, but it's not happening. Or what did you say?
Okay, look, Tim, you can't get anxious about something that's already happened, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's already happened. You know what's going to happen. What we tend to get anxious about is the fear of the future. What's going to happen? Well, none of us know what's going to happen. So, by the way, people who suffer from anxiety are very great imaginations. That's the plus side, right? Because that's how they got that anxiety in the first place. It's going out to the future, painting pictures of what we don't want to happen, or oh my gosh, what if this happens? And that's creating the anxiety. Now, I know the other question that goes with that is, what about panic attacks, right? Well, again, that's a feeling that something just horrific is going to happen. It's very real. I suffered from it when I was a child, so I understand. I'm not downplaying it. But it is something that hasn't happened, okay? All anxiety is about something that has not occurred yet. It's future-based. Now, you can have a fear that something from the past is going to happen again, but again, that's not the past. That's your fear of it happening again. So therefore, it is not real. It's an anticipation of something that's not real.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like you just like had a bunch of red pills from Morpheus in your pocket and you're just handing them out on the corner. You're like, you know what? Here you go. There you go. Hey. Oh my God. That was really good. That was really, really good. I'm gonna dive into the first question because your career has been just, I mean, it's been scattered with so much, growth and knowledge and all sorts of different situations where we're like, wow, I'm either gonna do that again or not do that again. What's one thing you wish, like when you started your career as a hypnotherapist, that you would have known beforehand when you're like, oh wow, okay, so
Well, I think it's the same. Well, I don't want to say mistake, but I think it's the same thing that I had seen when I was teaching hypnosis. And that is that you don't have to know every single nuance of human behavior before you go out and become either a therapist or a hypnotherapist. A lot of the things you're just going to learn.
mm,
We sit back and we wonder, oh, what if this happens? What if that? Well, I don't know. What if? Right? I mean, you can't sit there and dictate, what if I'm asking you this question, it's like, and a bird flies overhead, then what? I don't know. I guess you'll deal with it at that time. But it did take me a while myself to understand that, that it's okay. It's kind of funny because when you first start, you go and you have your book of suggestions, right? That you downloaded and you're ready. And the best thing that ever happened to me actually was one time I had a client that I had forgotten about, and someone from the clinic called me and said, hey, your client's here. And I was getting ready to go out to lunch with my friend who had a couple of years on me in the business. And I said, oh, I can't see him. I didn't have my book, which the funny thing is, I never even opened that book. It was just having it there, right? And I remember he turned to me and he said, you're not going to do that session because you're afraid you don't have your book. But he said, you're going to go do that session. And I was like, okay, fine. And I did it. And you know what? It was just fine. It was actually more than fine. So that taught me a very valuable lesson that you don't need all those crutches, that things are just going to happen the way they're going to happen. And really, the session isn't about me. It's about them. So they're going to guide it. And I'm really just the conduit, to which all the things happen through. I'm sure you feel the same way.
yeah, I mean 100%. I'm just kind of, I guess I don't know, I'm trying to find the word. I guess it's relish. I'm just relishing the fact that the similarities are so strong with therapists as a whole is what you're saying. Like, there's so many unpredictable moments in the career where you're like, you know what, I'm not sure. But what's cool is that I feel like the same anticipation that you talked about for people that
Mhm.
they create the anxiety, you
Mhm.
professionally worked through yourself. So not only do you have zero sympathy for it, but you have maximum empathy because you were there and and that's more important than
Oh
saying,
God, one thing I know about it's anxiety.
right? I'm so serious. I'm just reading that heavily. Like I can just tell that there's a resonation with it that helps you clear it up with people so strongly because you've been there. And
Mhm.
that's what helps you become so well or do so well with what you do because you do have that experience. I think it's so funny that I really am fascinated by your own overcoming being the maximum strength that you're using for your biz. And I think that is so like strong, right? Like I think everybody needs to go all in on what they're really good at. And I think your fearless nature kind of allowed you to say, you know what? I know how badly I went through this stuff. I am not going to let anyone else go through this same thing. And I'm going to dedicate a lot of my time to making sure people overcome this. And you did. I mean, 1999. Oh my God. That's
Alex is like,
amazing.
so,
Yeah. Well, hello. It's 2021. That's awesome. Most people, what would you say the average career length is for a typical psychotherapist or a typical hypnotherapist? I'm sorry.
that's right. Well, funny you should ask that because actually that always comes up, and it comes up even when you're a student.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
mhm, about 7 years.
Wow. Okay. Well,
And
statistically, you're killing it.
that's also if you even get up and started, right? Because hey, I taught, and there are thousands of people come through every month and start, 101. There's not 1,000 hypnotherapists. In fact, honestly, it's a very small business. Most of us, it's getting a little bit bigger because nowadays I find myself going, gosh, I don't know that person. Whereas, 10 years ago, everyone knew everyone.
Yes, totally.
So it's definitely grown. Um, but just because you've gone to school, hey, this is true of anything, right? Everyone who goes to law school doesn't necessarily practice law. Right?
Nope.
Everyone who goes to med school doesn't necessarily become a doctor. That's, I think, a big misconception that we have, that just because you're going to go to school for something means you're actually going to practice it. That's not necessarily so. If we were to really look at it, it's probably a very small percentage of any one group actually continues to go into that practice.
It is, right? Like it's pretty linear, like their
Yeah,
thinking process. It's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get that, and I'm going to do that.
exactly.
But how life works does not always happen like that.
Yeah, what do they say? If you want to make God laugh, make plans.
Yes! Oh my God, that is so funny. That is the truth. That is the truth. I love that drop right there. Oh my God. I think I have that. I have that written down somewhere on like a piece of paper on my fridge or something. Like that's literally the funniest thing I've ever heard because it's true.
Yeah,
It's
I
true.
believe that it is actually it's a universal, because I actually ran into a gentleman from Israeli, and he was saying it to me in his language, and I was like, and we both kind of laughed because we were like, so, oh wow,
Yeah,
we're both the same thing.
that's
Yeah.
so funny. I think for me, I know when I first started, there were people that I really look up to that
Mm.
inspired me a lot to be, who I am today. And I continue to find people that to push my threshold of knowledge and intuition and whatever field I feel like I can, progress in. But for you, who is somebody for you that you felt was monumental in your either career or starting this or continuing on, or maybe you hit like a stump in the road and this person came along the way that you can either know them or not know them. They can be, someone new.
Right.
But who
Yeah.
would you say?
Only one stop in the road? No. um,
To be honest, I would say up to, let's do three. If you could do three people that have really been kind of stepping stones for you for this transition or for this
mhm.
type of career, what would you say?
Well, okay, I would first, not necessarily one person, but I would
Sure.
say the peers that I either went to school with or attended seminars with. And I really learned a lot from them. Oddly enough, not necessarily in the classes, but a lot of the adventures we had outside of the seminars really opened me up to other teachings, and just accepting people who came from all different ages, different walks of life, and all over from different parts of the United States and sometimes different parts of the world. And it was very fascinating to hear their take on things, and definitely learn a lot from them, and definitely encourages you to keep going on, because really it's very enjoyable to have that. And then you think, oh, hey, this is what I do for a living.
Hmm.
You know, very nice. So definitely my peers. But I would say really one of the highlights, if I had to name a person, was probably Dr. Stephen LaBerge.
Okay.
And yeah, as a child, I was a big fan of his because I was a lucid dreamer. And hey, when I was a kid, I thought every kid had this voice that told them, hey, it's okay, this is a dream, you're just dreaming. And I remember going to school and telling someone, the voice that wakes you up. And they just kind of looked at me cuckoo. Right? So I never said anything about it until I read his book in junior high. And I was like, okay, this is a real thing. You actually know that
Mhm.
you're right. And then I wanted to take it to the next level. And then when I was able to do studies with him and actually meet him, oh, it was funny because one time somebody called me oh, you're a LaBerge groupie. And, I was honored. I was honored that they called me that.
You're like, whatever, man.
Well, I actually told him that. And he was like, oh, that's very nicely. Yes, I understand that. So, but, just to be in the presence of someone who has such a kind of mind that, when he explains something, you're so lucky if you get half of what he's telling you.
Now, for the person listening, who would who in a long in a short little cute bio would Stephen be known for best, or what's his specialize in?
Oh, he is definitely the father of lucid dreaming.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Amazing.
And he had studied as a student, he studied under William Dennett, I believe, who was like the man who gets credited for just bringing the study of dreams to the Western world.
Wow.
Western culture, we don't really study dreams that much. We kind of foo-foo it. It's just a dream. Don't worry about it. Whereas other cultures for centuries have seen the importance, if you will, of dreams and how vital they are, really a window into your unconscious mind. And then when Stephen was a student, he and he had, I guess, gosh, I don't know how to, for lack of a better word, proven
Hmm.
that lucid dream exists. And that really, opened the doors for the future of it and the study of it and how valuable it is. Because think about how valuable your imagination is, right? I mean, we all know, they've all done studies on how, hey, if you keep imagining this, it'll actually help you in your golf game or this or whatever. So when you're dreaming, your imagination it's like God, putting high octane into that imagination, right? Because your brain doesn't make that distinction. You're asleep. This is just a dream. It just is dreaming, and it's going through the process as if. So if you were able then to use that, I mean, gosh, there's endless possibilities of how we could benefit from lucid dreaming and being able to say, okay, I want to deal with this in my dreams, right? Basically, I want to, would probably eliminate my job. So I don't have to worry about that happening because it takes an awful lot of practice, and most people are not going to put the practice in. And you're talking about years,
For sure. For
Mhm.
sure. And I feel like even if they did get there, it would take a significant amount of coaching from you to get there. So, does it happen? Sure. Do people need to inquire to you about how to get there first? Yes, there is it's like walking into Yosemite and saying, I want to find that thing. It's like, okay, well, you're probably going to need a guide or a map. So,
Here's your man.
hey,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly.
Even I have to practice. I mean, I go through years where I go, I just haven't really put the attention towards it. And I
Yep.
definitely see it in I mean, I'm sure you find that's true in your practice when you don't pay attention to something. Yeah, okay, your strength in that area kind of weeds, right? And so we have to kind of gear ourselves.
100%. 100%. And even more reason, not to make this into fitness or anything, because that, but um, it is indeed important to have a plan, because what a
Mhm,
plan does, it helps you think less, be
mhm,
strategic,
mhm.
and really just go with what it's saying. Have faith in this,
Yeah.
and it is indeed your roadmap.
Mhm.
I'm sure you create plans. I create plans as a professional, and so things like that are very important to have, because I feel like when people are kind of I don't want to say white knuckling it because they're not an addict, but I'm going to say when they are white knuckling life,
Mhm.
you do not have a plan, sooner than later, you
Mhm.
will hit a roadblock. You won't know why. And if you had a plan, at least you would know why you hit that, or you would not hit that. you know.
Yeah, or worse, you become part of someone else's plan. Yeah,
Yes. And then you didn't even knew that because do you have a plan? No.
right. So,
No, no worries. You know, and I feel like one thing I want to ask for sure, because I feel like hypnotherapy is like kind of like, oh, that's cool. It's like,
yeah.
no, dude, no, this will change your life. It's
Mhm.
proven. It's been around
Mhm.
for a long time, actually longer than your and
Right.
and so what's one of the myths that you want to bust for the listener and for the audience that it's just something where you're just like, you know what, this is not true. So
Well,
I would love to leave
okay.
you with that.
One.
Oh, I'm
Hmm.
sure there's probably like 1,000 where you're like, you son of a bitch, it's not like this or like this. No, just kidding.
Right. Well, no, well, yeah, I agree with you. We get stuck often in with the mystics. Please don't send me your emails. I have nothing against mystics. Okay.
No, yeah, mystics, please stay calm. Grab your cold brew, relax.
Readers. Yes, I enjoy going, yada, yada, all of that. But why is it every time I go to some sort of convention or group, we're always right there next to them? It's like the two have nothing to do with one another. So, okay. But really, the biggest myth is no one can make you do anything you don't want to do,
I love
period.
that. I love that. Because I feel like there's a lot of people who are thinking to themselves, I may be afraid to go. They're going to manipulate me. You know, hypnotherapy, obviously, I've seen it on cruise ships. It's funny. They made my uncle like pull his pants down or something stupid, like whatever.
Can I explain that for a second?
Yeah, I would love that. Please.
Okay, so if I were doing a stage show, I'm going to tell a story. Okay,
Okay.
remember, I only have X amount of time. I'm doing a show. As I'm looking in the audience, you can see who's reacting to that story. Okay, the people that are going to give me the best reactions are the people I'm bringing on stage. Okay, now out of the 20, the hypnotherapist will then say, hypnotist, sorry, will say,
Yes.
go back to doing whatever. I'm going to talk to these people. And what they're doing is they're finding the most suggestible out of the most suggestible. And those people are going to be the stars of the show, if you will. Okay. It has nothing to do with their intellect level. It's just that they're taking in so much information that they're highly suggestible. You'll see sometimes throughout the show, sometimes people will fall off the show. In other words, they're going along and then they go, not so much. So the hypnotist has lost that person. That's okay. They probably were almost there and just didn't quite reach it. But if the hypnotist had all day, really everyone in the audience would go in because hypnosis is a natural occurring state. Okay, anyone who denies that, I don't know if you sat in a classroom when you were in first grade and went A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, well, that's hypnosis. Okay.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone when I say, what comes after P, doesn't give it to me in that singy, songy way, because that's the way you learned it. It's in your unconscious mind. Just the word unconscious, right, gets this spooky, kind of thing to it. And it's like, it's not spooky. It's just the thing that you do, which you're not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
You're not aware that you've already got the alphabet down. You don't need to recite it. You know how it goes. Okay. We unconsciously drive our cars every day. Anyone who thinks they're not hasn't rented a car. Okay. When you rent a car and the ignition is, you have a keyless one, and all of a sudden you've got one that's got a key, you take that moment where you go, oh, shoot, right? It's totally different, right?
Yes.
If you were totally conscious, you wouldn't have that moment. But you're on autopilot in those moments. It's not a spooky thing. It's just a fact. When you're walking, you are doing it unconsciously. You're not thinking right foot, left foot. Okay. If you did, you'd go crazy. We can't consciously think about everything all the time. And so Mother Nature did this for us, right? It's in our unconscious mind. We don't have to tell our heart to beat. Gosh, can you imagine that if you consciously forgot to tell your heart to beat? That,
Oh my God.
right. But that's happening. It happens unconsciously.
Mm,
So that's not spooky. There are certain things that are happening below our awareness, but it's not happening below our body's awareness. Okay? It's just happening below our conscious awareness.
got it.
Oh.
I love that. That it's so powerful because I feel like I don't remember what book it was, but
Mhm.
I was reading how your body and your energy is kind of like a bucket. And every day there's, heart emojis falling on one side and poop emojis falling on the other side. And,
Mhm.
what hand are you going to put out to catch what throughout the day? Right. Because the bucket's going to get full of
Right.
regardless. And so it's so funny that you make controlling the mind so tangible, yet not such
Mhm.
a like, don't worry so much and you will know what to focus on. Because I
Well, exactly right, and that's exactly. I've used that same analogy, by the way, a little bit different, but
Sure, sure.
yeah, look, hey, we're not in denial, okay, of the shit emojis. Okay, we
Mhm,
get it,
mhm.
right? But it comes. There's a point in life where you have to go. Well, okay, which one am I going to pay attention to? Right. Um, I probably, my desire is to pay attention to the heart emoji in that instance. Yeah, I totally get it. I'm very aware of this buckets here. Hey, it's hard not to be sometimes, but
Yeah,
where I want to, sometimes I'm fighting, remember
yeah,
to on this bucket, but it's worth the fight. It's just worth the fight
yep,
because I also am under the belief that where we put our attention to is often, of course, where you put your focus to, your life is definitely going to go right. It's hey, that's a physical, that's on the physical plane as well. Anybody who surfs, golfs, what do they tell you? Don't look down because you're going to fall. You ride a bike, you look where you're going to go.
yep,
You don't wheel.
yeah.
So
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I mean, I'm at the point where I am humbled by what you're saying. I want to leave the floor to you for one question because I
okay.
don't know everything you know. I thought I could ask a certain amount of questions and kind of get some stuff from you, but is there something that I left blank that I didn't ask you that you would like to answer so that the listeners can kind of hype in on that and kind of cue in on that? And it can really be about anything, anything descriptive about your career, what you like to do, your intent, maybe a shout out to all therapists, whatever you'd like. I want to leave the
Mhm.
floor to you for a second because I sometimes I don't ask everything that I should to get the point across, and I would love to leave that to you for a second and kind of see if there's something that you'd like to ask or answer for them.
Well, I guess the question, or I think what puzzles most people that I hear often, and these are intelligent people. I'm very blessed to get very intelligent people who call me. And, they always ask me, I know all this, and I go, oh, then why? Why do you keep doing the same thing? Or why don't you change? So hey, people ask me all the time, how quick can someone change? Well, hey, if I'm in a horrific accident, I'm afraid of driving for a while, right? And that happens how quickly, like that, right? So some things do happen like that. Change does happen fast. But what stops us from that is well, the knowns that we have in our unconscious mind. What does that mean exactly? Well, you and I weren't born knowing what things were, right? Okay, in other words, you didn't know what a stove was. At some point, you toddled over, you touched the stove. Ooh, hot thing. Okay, I identify it. It's a stove. It's hot. People cook on it. Well, we do that at a very early age. We start identifying things. Now, here's a story that's often told, and it's a very good one to demonstrate how the mind works. Okay, let's say, Tim, you have a puppy at 3 and that puppy saves your life. Well, your knowns, your association to that puppy, all dogs really are going to be positive. Okay. Let's say I have a puppy and that puppy bites me. I'm going to have a different association to dogs, probably a negative one. Now, as I grow up, if that gets reinforced, it gets reinforced, it gets reinforced. Now, here I am, a grown woman, and you and I were walking along, and a dog comes up. You are going to respond totally differently to the same dog, same situation. And why is that? Because of the knowns that I have subconsciously, right, to dogs. All right. Now, I can be as logical as I want. I can say, hey, this is stupidly, you're a grown woman. Tim's petting the dog, nothing's wrong. If that known is strong enough, it doesn't matter. It's going to override everything, right? You know, often the mind is, the computer is used as an analogy, which is why I really love the name of your podcast, by the way. And that's analogy, right? The computer, because computers do not make a judgment about what you're putting in. It says, got it. Okay. Well, the unconscious mind is the same way. It says, got it. Okay. And so when we do a behavior over and over again, it becomes a pattern, and that becomes the known, no different than the dog. So you know XYZ is bad for you. Why do you continue to do it? Because that's your pattern of behavior. And unless you break that pattern, it will continue. Why? Because your mind is very comfortable with it. Okay. And that's really what you're fighting against. The comfortableness of the sameness. You know, people always tell me, oh, I love change. No, you don't. You know, human beings do not like change. Yes, you're talking to someone who gets bored easily, okay? But when big change occurs, okay. Right? So, and we all deep inside get that way because we love being comfortable. We love having our habits, and it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. But when it's not working for us, we should understand that it's just a habit. It's just a known. And that known, because it's learned, here's the good news, can be unlearned. Okay. So that's what it takes. The pain we have a saying in hypnosis, and that's the pain of staying the same has to be greater than the pain of changing. Otherwise, you're not going to change.
Oh my God. I have been saying that a long time to my clients. Oh my, yes. Oh my God. I even say that to people casually because I've just been like telling them like, yeah, like, you know, until the pain that you're enduring is greater than the pain of the change you have to make, you're not going to do anything.
You're not going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
You know, that's not a problem for you. Not a problem. Because until it becomes a problem for them, okay. Hey, you and I can see it as a problem, but it's not me. Okay, I'm not them. And unless it's a problem for them, it's not going to happen. You know, I do believe in change. If I didn't, I wouldn't be sitting here. Yep. But person has got to want to change. And some things, boy, they have to want to change badly enough. You know, and I'm sure you the argument of whether something is easy or hard, it's like, oh, who cares? Okay, the argument isn't whether something easy or hard. It's, do you want to change it or not? Okay, because you're not going to go on, and nobody's denying that some things are. So what? I get it. Okay, and but that's really what the pain has to be.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I tell people, until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, don't call me.
Oh my God. I love that. Wow. Holy shit.
But it's true, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be in a coachable position.
That's right.
They're not going to be intentful. They're going to be passive, right? And that's a waste of your time. And then that's when therapists get burned because they're like, oh, I paid $550 an hour to hang with this person and they didn't do shit. And it's like, no, I did. I actually cured you of all your stuff. You just didn't listen to a damn word I said, and you were texting your ex, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, uh, I've learned, and I've been very lucky, is at an early stage in my career, I just learned I'm not convincing anyone. You either want
Yeah.
to come or not.
Yep.
Someone. I've really always had belief that the people who want to see me will come, and and you know what? Not everybody's going to like you. Hard to believe, I know, but if they don't, it's okay. That's just the way it goes. But I've always believed that the right people come to me, and that's who I want, anyways. So there was no convincing. Don't care. And also, I tell people, hey, I'm not going to care more than you care. Right. So if you care a lot, I'll care a lot. But if you don't, all right, because I'm not the only person in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's almost like it's almost like certified hypnotherapist, aka professional adulter. Like I help you become an adult.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, right, we don't teach people how to emotionally grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. There was when I was going to school to be a life coach, there was a gentleman in my class that we would laugh, and our little inside joke was, hey, I think we would say like the person's name, like
Mhm.
Terry or somebody, and we'd be like, I think Terry's being a 15-year-old, 40-year-old, and I'm like, oh my God, totally right. I'm like, what was that at lunch? And they're like, dude, and that's so true, because certain people are at certain coping points of life, certain emotional maturity. People don't realize that intelligence is not just in your mind. It is an emotional quota. It is a reaction quota. There is all sorts of things that you need to have aligned so that you do actually function and use intelligence. Otherwise, the more you know, it doesn't matter unless you're going on Jeopardy. You know what I mean?
Well, and it does distinguish us from all the other animals, right? I mean, I really dislike when people go, oh, well, the monkeys, they eat when they're upset, or, well, they also go to the bathroom on the sidewalk, right?
Yeah,
Well, all those people do that. But, we have an intellect, right, that says, hey, this isn't right, or can make that distinction of what is right and wrong. Maybe we ought to use it a little bit more, or even in just stopping for a moment and thinking, right? Because again, there are no blatant right and wrong. It's also context dependent. So I want to make that clear. I'm not a big distinguisher of this is right, this is wrong. I don't know. It depends on the situation. But that, again, is still part of using our intellect, right? Our being able to have this critical thinking, right?
100%. 100%. And that's what you just said right there was the pinnacle. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you have animals and the way they learn in one hand, and you have
Mm-hmm.
humans and the way they learn in another hand, people don't realize this, but it's very different. And there's something very special in humans that does not happen in animals. And here it is. Okay. And I know you're going to agree with me, because I know we're just on this level. We took the freaking red pill before we got on the show. Um, Animals, good example when you said the stove, animals, when they see pain, it
Mm-hmm.
is an observing teaching. So
Mm-hmm.
monkeys do not go up to their brother and say, hey, dude, you need
Mm-hmm.
to don't touch that shit. It's going to burn you. His brother needs to see his brother get burned, and then he will learn.
Mm-hmm.
Difference in human beings is we have a very innate something special in our DNA and our soul, where
Mm-hmm.
when something bad happens to us, we want to show other people. We want to tell other people, don't do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't, so if our brother burns himself, he's going to run up to his sister and be like, oh shit, like, don't touch that stove. I burned myself. And then she will say, wow, thank you. And so
Right.
it's this, right? I mean, unless she's like, oh, for sure. Oh, fuck. Okay, well, I learned. But in other words, there's a very special energy that wants to make us, that forces us to teach. And that
Yeah.
is not an
Right.
animal.
believe that. I believe it's in our nature to help one another. And there's a lot, despite everything. I just think, but I am an eternal optimist. But I think that human compassion, really, if you look at what happened at 9/11 and all the people that helped complete strangers, it's just so touching. Really, I really get kind of choked up when I think about it. But, so I think it's man's nature to be compassionate when all the chips are down. I still believe that. I believe that ultimately, here's where I really am going to sound like the eternal optimist. I believe ultimately, big T truth always comes out. And I still believe good wins over evil. Sometimes it takes an awful long time, but ultimately good will win over evil.
100%. There's always a, I'm not going to say a silver lining, but when you have to wait or when you're forced to wait, it just means when you get it, it's that much better. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that finally. You
Mm-hmm.
create the finally, you
I
know.
agree. Mm-hmm.
And that momentum is built through being humble and being patient. You will
Mm-hmm.
drop that momentum bandwagon if you're just like, well, I should have had it already. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, who the hell told you that? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, Lee, I appreciate your time. I don't want to go too crazy. I would love, actually, because of what we touched base on, I would love to have you back, to be honest, and do like a part two on this. You have touched you have just unbelievable. You've just said some really amazing things, and
Oh,
I would love to continue this. It's whenever you're free, but I want people to know how they can find your stuff, connect with you. Do you have a website? I know, I don't know if you're that big on social media, but if you are, I would love for people to connect with you. Let us know how we can connect.
yes, I do have a website, leebetchley.com. I am on Instagram. I actually have a YouTube channel,
Yes.
uh, SoundCloud. So any of those. And if you just go to YouTube, type in my name, although other people have used my name, you know how they do that just to build up, but you'll
Hmm.
find I'm the legit one that has my different videos. But yeah, I have a Facebook page, all of that. But or just go to my website and it links to everything. So,
Okay. And what I'll do, you guys, is I will link everything for Lee in the podcast and on the YouTube. So that way, if you guys are watching the show, you guys are just going to click below and you guys can see all of Lee's links and ways and resources for you to connect with her. I honestly thank you so much for your time. Like, this was like
my pleasure.
seriously so fun. I feel like we should like get an IPA and talk about stuff for like 4 hours, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, well, if I get on a roll, I get on a roll.
it's
That's why I
amazing.
always tell my friends, I go, it takes me a while, but once you hit a subject and I'm on a roll, it's like I'm on that roll. So I
I,
don't know if that's bad.
it's not bad. I think it's because you have an extreme high level of passion for what you do. You seem very, 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 you just seem like the number one driver behind why you do this is because you love people. And I think that that is a very important aspect to have in business because if you don't like people, what are you doing? Like what
I
it,
find them interesting. That's
yeah,
for
it's very hard to find a job where it doesn't interact with people. It's kind of weird.
sure.
So for you, you can see the love, you can see the passion. I appreciate you so much, and I'm excited to have you back on. And I'm very happy for everybody to get what they got from the show today. I feel like we should be freaking opening up a tip jar for you. I mean, this is some really great stuff. Seriously. So you guys, you heard her. You can visit leebetchley.com. I will leave all the resources below for you. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I appreciate you, Lee. I hope you have an amazing day, my friend.
You too.
Thank you.